Well, good afternoon. Welcome everyone to today's webinar, Laundromat Makeovers. My name is Bob Neiman. I'm the editor of Planet Laundry Magazine, and I will serve as your moderator today. Before we get started though, I'd like to thank our sponsor of today's program, Sense. We're lucky enough to have with us today Pablo Marvel, who is the Director of Business Development, and he's going to share some information on their platform and how it can help your business. Let me share my screen with you and
Thanks, Bob.
yep. Okay, go ahead, Bob.
Showing my screen. Okay, I'm going to pull this up here. Slideshow. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thanks, Bob, and the whole CLA team. I'm really excited for today's topic. It's actually a personal favorite of mine, Home Makeovers Laundromat Edition. And so I'm just going to take a few minutes here to talk about Sense. And actually, I think this is a fantastic topic for a lot of the things we're working on. And for those of you that don't know, if you haven't heard of Sense or you're not totally familiar with what we do, Sense is an all-in-one platform to help you grow and manage your business. So we have an entire range of products going from the leading point of sale to Sense Dispatch, which is a no-cost delivery solution that enables you to use gig economy providers like DoorDash and Uber or your own drivers to grow your business. We have a marketing product called Sense Accelerate, and our newest product, Sense Connect, which is what you're looking at on screen here, is our own card readers. Now, what's great about this, card payment systems, if you will, you have two models here, and this is the first time a company has launched both the software and the hardware to manage your business from a point of sale, wash, try, fold, pick up and delivery aspect, as well as card systems on your machines. And we call it Sense Connect because effectively what it's doing is connecting your machines, plugging them into your operating system, your dashboard, your headquarters, and giving you a data-driven approach to grow your business. But before we get into all this complicated data and all these tools and whatnot, I wanted to give you a visual on screen here in advance of the talk you're going to have today about makeovers, because at the core of every consumer spending decision, I think, is design. We spend with our hearts way before we spend with our minds. No matter what you say, I don't know if you guys can see my messages appearing on my screen, but no matter what purchase decision you're about to make, there's an element that you are going to go with what your heart feels, and a lot of that is that is influenced by design, aesthetics. And so personally, I love these readers. I think they're really beautiful. They're simple, they're clean. Matter of fact, our engineers came over from Apple. They're the ones who designed this, and everything from the way the card reader looks to the way the mobile flow is designed to the way it interacts with your point of sale dashboard, a major focus of ours has been, is the consumer going to enjoy using this? And I say that with a smile because, obviously spending money is one thing, but there's so many payment systems in the world. I mean, I'm just thinking, even at the grocery store or the gas station or whatever, like how often does something eat your card, or the buttons don't make sense, or it takes 40 seconds to transact, right? So design is at the heart of everything that brings us joy. And so as you go into this webinar, thinking about how design affects your customer experience, I want you to consider the possibility of, first of all, do you have a card payment system, right? And that doesn't have to be Sense, right? We know card payment systems, especially if you're upgrading from a coin only to a card payment system, we know that there's amazing results. For example, you can see on the bottom of my screen some stats that we've pulled from our customers to date. We see about an average revenue increase of 10% almost, some cases 12%, some cases 8%, but just from having card payments on machine instead of coin, it's probably no surprise. But when you have a card payment system with a screen like this, other features you're offering, modifiers like extra wash or other cycles that you can upsell, that's gone up by 85% in most cases because it's presented in a beautiful way. And other cycles like extra rinse, right? So there's real revenue opportunity tied to design decisions. So as you're thinking about card systems, look at all the options. Sense has a great option that would love you to consider. But overall, Bob, I'm going to hand the screen back to you. Overall, the webinar you're about to go through, I think, is one of the most important decisions any laundromat owner can make. Is what is the first impression that my customers get when I walk into the store? So with that in mind, thank you for letting me lead you off here, and I'm excited to hear the case studies that we're about to go through.
Yeah, Pablo, thank you. That's great information and a great product. So thanks for sharing that with everybody.
Absolutely.
Something we started new this year with our webinar program is focusing on topics that had previously been featured in Planet Laundry magazine. And so this topic of Laundromat Makeovers was actually a cover story on of the September issue, and we're lucky enough to have two of the contributors to that article with us this afternoon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask questions of our panelists, and then at the end I will take your questions. So feel free to type them, throughout the program into the little question box, which is at the control panel to the right of your screen. And now I'd like to introduce our panelists. We have with us Andy Cunningham of Andrew Cunningham Enterprises. Andy's a longtime consultant to the industry in Torrance, California. And our second panelist is Tammy Randolph. She owns Bubbles Laundromat in Mount Vernon, New York. Thanks, both of you, for being here today. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Yep.
Right. And I guess what I'd like to do to kind of kick things off is to, and help the audience get to know about you and what you're doing, is maybe share a little bit about your business, how long you've been in the industry, for the store owner in the group, how many stores you own, and just from that. And so, Andy, let me start off with you and tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, I started in this industry probably before most of you have been born. I've been doing this for just under 40 years, 39 years.
Wow.
I started off with the largest Speed Queen distributor in the United States in 1984. I was with the company till 1990, and then I started a small company with my brother, developing, building, remodeling laundromats. And then in 1995, we launched a chain called Lucy's Laundry Mart. It was 29 stores, and we combined a convenience store with a laundromat. We were the first ones to do co-branding in the industry. We raised 30 million in venture capital. We launched the chain, and it got up to about 29 stores. And then we brought over probably the wrong management, but we brought over management from the financial sector, the president of Chief Auto, and a group of other people, and they didn't really quite get the gist of the whole thing, so they bankrupted the company in 3 short years, and we had to start all over. And at that time, my brother decided to go into real estate development, and I stayed in the laundromat industry, and I've been doing this since. I have a consulting business where I talk to people across the United States. I don't like to take the place of a broker, but most people don't have brokers, and so I fill that gap in there. I tell them what to look for, how to go about, how to value, what's most important in whatever transaction they're looking at. And then I'm a broker here in California, and I handle my own transactions here in California. And welcome, and I hope I can shed some light on some interesting topic today for you to gain some good insight and move forward.
Andy, thanks for being here. Certainly a lot of experience there, and a lot that we can learn from. So appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Our second panelist, Tammy, tell us a little bit about your journey and your whole odyssey of getting into the laundromat business and what you're all about there in Mount Vernon.
Definitely. So I am by trade, I work with small startup companies. I kind of get startup companies from inception to market. So if they're doing an IPO, if they're doing rebranding, things of that nature. During the pandemic is kind of when I first started thinking about purchasing my first laundromat. There just happened to be one in my neighborhood. I was looking everywhere. I initially was going to go to Harlem, New York, and purchase a couple of them because there was a guy that was selling 3, kind of like a group of them. And then there was one that became available in my neighborhood. So I went, spoke with the owner, wound up purchasing that one from him. Had no idea what I was getting into. I spoke to my brother, so we kind of went in together, purchased a laundromat. It was like a Friday. The guy called me and was like, "Hey, can you come pick up the keys for me Saturday morning and open the store?" And I was like, "Okay." So it was really a sink or swim kind of mission, which is what I'm really used to working in startups. But we started with one laundromat. We have about 40 machines. When we got there, probably half of them were down. So really the first step was really looking at kind of what was going on with the business, trying to understand, because we didn't know anything about laundry. So understanding the laundry business. That was 3 years ago, and we are now in the process of building out a new laundromat. And we're about 2 weeks away from opening. So that's what my journey is, where it got me.
Well, that's kind of a whirlwind, and congratulations on that second store. Absolutely. Good luck with it. Well, let me go a little deeper with you, Tammy. Tell me about the remodel. You know, what kind of work was done? What kind of shape was your store in? And what actually did you do as far as the remodeling? What type of work?
The store was in really bad shape. When I look back at the pictures from when we first bought it, there was like a hole in the wall where I guess the guy was gonna put a display, and then he just never did it. So he just kind of had like plastic covering it, and you know, half the machines were down, half the washers, half the dryers. According to the customers, he never liked to turn on the light, so he would make them wash in the dark. So there was a lot of things going on when we first got there. A lot of leftover laundry people never picked up, dry cleaning, just a lot of things. So we initially just went in, and it was really a blessing because the guy we bought it from, we were going to shut down for 2 weeks and kind of just do a rebuild, like start over from scratch. And he was like, "No, I don't recommend that. You know, kind of keep it open so that your customers are still coming in and they can kind of see as you're going." And that was probably the best advice. So we went in and really just did, you know, the first thing you always do is do the paint job just to kind of give it that fresh coat, that new feeling. Went in, we found a technician probably within the first week. He came in, told us what was wrong with some of the machines, figured out what was wrong with the others. They had been using, you know, people use some of the machines as kind of gutting them out to replace, to help with the other machines. So that's kind of what they were doing.
Right.
That's why so many machines were down. So he came and he helped us find all of the things that we needed in order to get those machines up and running. Our dryers, we went and we had the ducts cleaned, so they had never been cleaned. They were like really dirty, front and back. We did that. So just from top to bottom, really, we refilled the hole. We had somebody come in and build us out a product display case. We actually wound up taking out, because we had a lot of 20s and 30s, so we wound up taking a bunch of the 20s and 30s out and getting bigger machines because we noticed that people were waiting to use the bigger machines, which kind of happens. So those were really the things that we first started off with, just initially seeing what was needed. And again, that was the first thing we noticed, that people would wait for the bigger machines. So then we kind of found the same series of machines that we had, went and bought those, had our technician come in, take out take out some of our smaller machines, put in a lot more bigger machines. And that's kind of what we did. Yep.
Yeah, again, listening to your clients and your customers, and they'll tell you what they want, won't they?
Absolutely. If you're paying attention, you'll see it.
Yeah, you gotta pay attention. Andy, keeping in mind that this is just an hour webinar, can you tell us some of your experience with renovations? And again, I know you've done it all, and there's a difference.
My most recent renovation was in Montebello, California, which is just about 5 to 10 miles east of downtown Los Angeles. Heavy Hispanic community, small bowling alley laundromat. Now I know, Tammy, you'll know what a bowling alley laundromat is. It's just washers on the right, dryers on the left, and the middle. That's it. And mine was similar, only I didn't have the washers parallel to each other. I actually had machines coming out of the wall. So I had, like, my first row had 330s and 340s, and then you work your way down. I had 5 rows or whatever the case may be. This place,
wow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. So this place was, it needed everything. There was a hole in a wall, like you said. They had carved out a spot to put 2 big machines, but they never installed the 2 big machines. It was burnt orange, and I mean the bulkheads were burnt orange, and it was really hard on the eyes. And they had white walls, and it was just not that pleasant. And then I found out through the local police and what have not that it was a meth den. Basically, at night they were doing drugs in there, and everybody was kicked out. So I had a partner in this, and we decided let's just we kept the dryers. The dryers were probably 17, 18 years old, but we kept them, and we got them up and running. And then we took the 2 machines that were in the wall and we put them in the island instead of in the wall, covered that up, put a new coin changer in it because it needed another changer. And we then replaced we had Horizons in there, we had top loader, 20 pounders, 30 pounders, 40s to 60s, and we moved more towards the higher end, just like you did, Tammy. Our marketing indicated that the market was missing larger machines, and so we put as many larger machines in there. We used both used and new equipment. And then I called up a artist friend of mine and I said, for God's sake, help me. What do I do with the burnt orange? And I didn't want to replace the bulkheads because they were nice, but they were burnt orange. And he said lavender. So I ended up painting the walls lavender on a very nice light colored lavender, and it actually toned down the orange. It was just a match made in heaven. So we opened up, I guess the laundry was probably doing only about 6. I got it up to about 12 to 13. I did sell it, but we got the mayor to come to the grand opening. And the mayor was a 24-year-old young man, and he looked at me and he said, this was on my list. And I said, list for what? He goes, we were going to close this laundromat down if someone didn't do something with it. And so we got all the riffraff out. We got all the people that didn't belong there. And it's a very nice ongoing concern in Montebello at this stage. So it was worth the time and the effort. We shut it down, by the way. I couldn't operate it without being open. I had to shut it down. So we shut it down for probably 90 days, 100 days.
Right.
No other way to do it. If I could have gotten away with partial, I would have. Yeah.
You know, it's amazing how a renovation can really change a community, right? And you know, it's truly game changing. You know, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the financial implications of a renovation. And I realize there's makeovers, there's quick makeovers, there's complete retools. But if we can kind of, you know, within that range, what are some of the expenses that you can expect to incur with a renovation, and what's some of the revenue that can be gained? And Andy, let me start with you, please.
Well, the first and foremost is the question becomes, what do you do with the local city? And, you know, I think that with the exception of replacing utilities, with the exception of actually having any structural issues, I think for the most part, you could probably just get away with replacing equipment, yet you're still doing the floor and the ceiling and the tiles. So some cities require you to pull permits for equipment installation, whereas others don't necessarily look for that. So there's a large expense with pulling permits and going through plan check and all of those things when you're just replacing equipment. And I know some cities are sticklers at that. LA is not as tight as most other cities. I don't know, I can't say, but that would be the first expense that I'd be looking at in with regards to this, because it's a hidden one that you're not aware of. Right. That's the first thing. I think the biggest thing that got me was that, you know, I thought I could get away with probably $100 a foot, and even in a remodel, it was closer to $200 a foot. And that's expensive. Now, I don't know what it would be in New York, but this is California, so I imagine I'm probably 15 to 20% higher than the rest of the United States. But that was a shocker to me. And that was a 1,500 square foot laundromat. So you can imagine, you know, I'm getting a bill for 35, 40,000 just for the tenant improvements. And that was installation and doing some structural things and making sure the plumbing and the electrical and everything else worked. But that was kind of a shocker for me doing my initial bid. The equipment, not so much, you know, and we can go into how I decided what equipment to do, but that's been my experience.
Right. What about revenue gained? What can you expect when you renovate? And I don't know, it's probably all across the board, but how do you look at that, or how should you look at that?
Well, I take it, I work off of demographics, and I think demographics really tell the story more than anything else. I think that a lot of people like to use turns per day, which can probably get you into the ballpark, but I think that you have to back it up with knowing that you have the market or the individuals to come in and be your clients in order for you to gain some revenue. So when I look at a laundromat, not counting this Montebello one, but when I look at a laundromat, I look at the turns per day that it's currently doing right now before I do my remodel. And then I look at what the marketplace would be, and I look at what am I going to replace in this application to generate more revenue. And my history has been I could probably get the revenue up about 20% with new washers and a new mix. I wouldn't put the same mix back in a laundromat in any way, shape, or form. And at the same time that you're replacing larger machines or smaller machines with larger machines, you also have to look at what your dry capacity is. And you really don't want to get caught up in a situation where you've got some fantastic equipment mix. The turns per day are going to be really good, but now I can't dry them because I have a log jam at my dryers, because instead of replacing maybe some 30-pound stacks, they should be 45-pound stacks, or even single pockets where they should be stacks. And you kind of have to weigh that to say, I should be equal to, I might be able to get away with a 10% differential, but that's really about it. And if I'm doing wash, dry, and fold, I absolutely have to have 10% more dryer capacity than I have in my machines there.
Yeah, no, that's a great ratio, and that's a great point too. It's like so many people, you've got that log jam at the dryers. You don't have the capacity to handle the big washers that you bring in. So excellent point and stuff. Tammy, how about you as far as your specific renovation? Do you care to share what kind of expenses you incurred, and then how that helped the business and how it helped revenue and profits once you got things up and running properly?
I think it kind of worked in my favor. I didn't realize me and my brother knew so many people kind of, I don't want to say in the industry, but that were able to kind of help us out. We knew a really good licensed electrician. We knew a really good contractor who was able to do our painting, some of our molding, remodeling. We met people in the industry, so we actually went to different states and found washers and dryers and things that we needed. I think his point to the bigger machines, bigger dryers, because we bought an already furnished or already established laundromat initially, we just left it as is. But with the new one that we're building, we actually did take into account that. And so we kind of make sure that we have a big dryer, big washer, so that we could kind of compensate based on how people are doing, how people are doing their laundry. It does become a problem when we're trying to do wash, dry, fold, and customers are in there. So we try and really limit the amount of dryers and washing machines that we take up so that customers are able to kind of come in and get what they need done. So for us, we really were able to, a lot of people gave us really good rates. I will say we were definitely under market on probably everything, because no one really wanted to charge us. They were just so excited with helping us. Sure. Hopefully going forward, with the new build out, it's kind of working in the same way. So we're able to use our electrician. We have a plumber. We have somebody who's coming in. Our technician has a guy that can come in and anchor our machines down and kind of get us going in that way. So again, we've been really blessed in that aspect where we haven't had to spend the, go out and contract and kind of bid it out. We've just had more of our friends who are in the business, who are in their respective businesses, being able to come in and help us. But when we did do the changeover, we did notice a very increase, because I think a lot of people had stopped coming to that laundromat that we first bought, because again, the guy was making them do laundry in the dark. He wasn't fixing any of the machines. He was kind of, they just didn't, I guess they didn't, I don't want to say safe, but safety is a really big thing for laundromats, because you do have a lot of older people, you have a lot of women, you have a lot of young, people that are just coming in there with their kids. They want to feel that they're in a safe space in order just to get their laundry done, get it dry, that they can kind of get in and get out. And so we made that a priority as well. Just make sure that there's no, no one hanging out, no one even, around the building at all. And we lit it up, really bright lights, just so that, when people come in, they feel safe. That was a big one as well.
Right. No, those are great points. Other than having friends in the business, Tammy, as you alluded to, what are some cost saving tips for renovations? Any couple top tips for both of you, or either of you that want to take that one?
Well, I
Sorry,
have one little pet peeve,
Okay.
and it's kind of funny because I talk about it all the time, and that is lint. I think lint is our nemesis, and I think that I don't know of a laundromat, for the most part, that doesn't experience some kind of free-floating lint in their laundry, and it actually has to do with where the vents exhaust and where the intake comes in on the roof. And so one of the biggest things that I recommend that people do when they remodel and they go up there is to actually look at the makeup air and the combustion air and behind your dryers and find out if you have lint getting sucked back into your laundromat from the roof, how to prevent that. And then in order to make sure that you have the right combustion and makeup air behind your dryers, I recommend people put either vents or fans, small exhaust fans, at the access doors behind your dryers. And I put them on a timer, and I put them on pretty much, I don't know, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., about 80% of the time. And I have fresh air sucked in from the laundromat into behind the dryers. And little two things here. The makeup air is everything around the dryers, and the combustion air is right behind the dryers. But this will actually feed more air to the back of those dryers, and those dryers won't be sucking as much because dryers only know air and oxygen and gas. If it doesn't get oxygen, it'll burn gas. If it gets the oxygen, it'll burn less gas. You could, for probably about $100 investment, you could probably save $200 to $300 a month on your gas bill by feeding more fresh air behind your dryers. So that's one of the key things I talk to people about when they're remodeling, or even when I go to their stores. I do the lint test. I find out the lint and find out what's going on, and try to figure out how to A, prevent the lint from coming in, but B, fix the makeup air and combustion air behind the dryers.
That's great. That's great stuff, and it's certainly cost saving, and it's also a safety issue as well.
Yes, it is.
So, Tammy, any cost saving renovation tips that you've learned during the last few years?
Well, I think for us, again, I still do have my 9 to 5. So for the most part, I'm using my my play money to kind of fund our renovations. He uses his additional money as well. So we have, money that comes into the house, and then the additional money is kind of used to fund the renovations. Again, it hasn't been probably as steep of a bill that I thought it was going to be. Being able to still make money. I mean, you still have money that the laundromat is making, so you're able to use that money and kind of feed it back into the business instead of taking it out, which I always recommend people doing. But I also think if that's not an option for you, just doing things slowly, because you don't want to become so in debt that your laundromat, you'll never be able to make up that money. Or it's going to take you so long to make up that money that you're putting in, and it just doesn't make sense financially for the business or for you. And I tell people that all the time. Like, I have friends that are looking to do it, and I'm like, the laundromat that you're looking at, you're just going to have to put so much money into it. Is it really going to make, is it going to make you that money back? And what's going to be the time frame that you're going to make that money back?
Right.
So those are really the big things. I always say, take it slow, make sure that it's financially viable for you. And then you're not just like, I just have to do it, I have to do it, because then you get into a situation where you're just digging yourself deeper and deeper into debt in a new business that you're, especially for people who are new to the business, new to the industry, that you're not aware of.
Right. No, that's a good point. And certainly sometimes you need to be patient with it, and you can't go as fast as maybe you'd like to, but that's probably the smart call. Yeah, no, that's great, Tammy. Let me remind everybody that feel free to send any questions for our panelists along the left side or the right side of your screen. Feel free to type those in, and we can answer some at the end of this. A question that I get a lot is, do you stay open during renovation, or do you close it completely? And I guess it would depend on the type of renovation. Andy, you kind of alluded to that with your one store where you had to just completely shut it down. What are your thoughts? How would you prefer to do it? And how have you done it in the past with different stores?
I've done it both ways. I've done it both ways. It really depends on the amount of work you're doing and what you're doing. I mean, I can paint with people there. I can replace ceiling tiles with people there. I can do maintenance on, I could replace swamp coolers or air conditioning units with people still in there. Flooring is a different issue. If I do anything where I have to close if I do anything that I have to close the laundry, depends on how long I'm going to close it for. First of all, I notify everybody what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. If my remodel is going to be longer than a week, I figure that I'm going to take care of my clients when I reopen. If it's going to be less than a week, I usually have an attendant or an employee sit outside that laundromat for their shift and hand out business cards that says free wash, free dry, whatever the case may be, sorry for the inconvenience, and hand them a card, and then maybe log down their name so I get an understanding of who came in and who didn't. Even after posting, people will just show up. And then I go about and I start on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, which is usually the slower day of the week, and I'll start my work then in hopes that I could be done by Friday or Saturday when the big rush comes in. So I kind of try to time it at that time, and then I try to get it done. And I'm telling you, I'm getting people working 8, 9 o'clock at night, so that it's not a 6 to 6 job. It's 6 to 9 or 6 to 10, and they're going to get the job done. And I can, I don't mind paying a little bit more at nighttime for overages, but I want that thing open as quickly as possible. And therefore, I'm going to take care of my clients during the day, and I'm going to start in the middle of the week. So on the off chance I can get finished by the weekend.
Perfect. Tammy, what are your thoughts on that? On staying open during a renovation or just shutting it down?
For us, we definitely stayed open, but we tried. So like when we did the vent cleaning, the front side, we did it early morning. So we had someone come in probably like 5 in the morning, so that by the time your 6, 7 a.m. customers come in, half are done. They can start using those half, and the other half we're working on those. When we did the back of the dryers, we did it in the evening, kind of the way he said. So you really do just try and manage it that way. Any renovations you do, you want to have it where it's kind of gearing towards the end of the night when you're about to close down. You have like, a couple people trickling in after work, just trying to get their last loads in, but you still can have the people working and getting the job done, and they're working kind of later into the evening. So absolutely, I agree with that. That's exactly what we did, actually.
Right. Now, Tammy, did you serve as your own general contractor for your project?
No.
Okay.
I wish. No, we
Okay.
definitely had, again, we also were able to find, again, within the community, you have a lot of people who do a lot of different things. So just being able to use some of the community people who can, who have that's their job is they paint, or their job is they do molding, or their job is they do, we found our exterminator that way. Someone comes in once a month, kind of does that. We found our painter. We did a lot of graffiti work in our laundromat based on kind of where we are demographic. So we had a local guy who comes in. He's probably a tag artist. He tags, the area. He came in, he did some work. So we definitely just tried to, again, people that we knew, and then people that, it just made sense that was their.
Right. Yeah, and you mentioned the graffiti work in your store. It's beautiful, and people could go to the September issue of Planet Laundry and really take a look at it. I think there's a photo or two up there, and
yes.
Really great way to kind of tip your hat to the community, and it shows respect to the residents. I think that's a great. You did some great work there, so I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
Check that out. Andy, what do you prefer to do? You've probably done both. Do you prefer to be your own general contractor, or have you been? Or what are your thoughts on that versus, farming that out, I guess?
I kind of go with, I'll have someone do the work. I don't want to really manage any subcontractors. I have found that as active as I am and as knowledgeable as I am, not being a installer or a contractor, I'm missing some key things that are easier, better, faster, quicker, the new way to do things. And I'd rather have somebody that's an expert in there in my place. If I have to pay a little bit more, that's the way it is. If I don't need a general contractor, I won't use them because they're rather expensive. In my region, there's probably a half a dozen guys I could call to get a bid for the work that I want done on a remodel scale. And for my remodel, let's just say it's 100 grand or less. That doesn't include equipment. So most of the people probably have 5 to 10 years experience in remodeling laundromats, and they're pretty good at what they do. I don't think that there's any contractor that I haven't had to stand at the door and yell at them that they're taking too long, and I need them to move forward. And the reason that happens is that there aren't as many of them that you wish, because they're all so busy that they're actually working 1 or 2 other jobs at the same time they're working yours, because there's just the lack of that skill set for the industry. And I think that's probably, I don't think it's just California. I think that across the United States that there is a void of those people that would come in and do a bunch of things for you that you would like them to do, but you can't. They won't, it's not possible.
Right. No, good point. To both of you again, what's the best way to keep a project on schedule? I mean, because nothing's going to kill you more than like running over schedule. Next thing you're over budget. Andy, how about you first? How do you make sure people aren't stepping on each other and everything's getting done as it should?
Well, I normally put a checklist together of the project itself, and I go over the there's construction, and then there's installation. So, and then there's testing. And so what's your construction going to do? And then at what point in time can I have the installers come in? And then now you've got 2 different trades in there at the same time, or 3. And then after that, after the installations, who's going to come back and test the equipment? And at the same time, your contractor's finishing up painting, the floor's already been installed. So I'm doing a hierarchy when I get my project of what I think it should happen. When does the floor get fixed? When are the walls getting built or reconstructed? When are you doing your sheetrock? When are you mudding? When are you painting? When are you running electrical wiring for cameras or what have not? So I kind of get involved in that. And then once I get it, I say, okay, how long do you think it's going to take to do this, to do this, to do this? Realizing that they're waiting on parts, they're waiting on some things, and sometimes, they overbook themselves, and that's just what happens. So I kind of have an internal clock that says enough is enough. This is when this should get done, and and then I kind of babysit it. That's what a general contractor would do, but he's going to charge you an extra 20% to do that. And so I'm going to penny pinch there and say, I don't need you. Thank you very much.
Right. You just need to be involved in it. You need to be there and aware of all your deadlines and just kind of staying on top. Okay. Do you use any kind of special software or anything to keep it, on?
A couple of the contractors do, and we have used it before, but for me, no, I just put my own spreadsheet together and I put a time limit on it. I put the date and the time, and I work off of that. And I know there's some really good programs out there. I just haven't used one.
Okay. All right. Tammy, how about you? How did you keep that Bubbles project on schedule and on budget?
I think with our first laundromat, it was pretty seamless, only because we were so new to it. Everyone was just, excited about helping. It's the second one that's giving us a go for our money. I think as long as we have someone doing, we have something happening. So as long as the plumber is there, or as long as the electrician is there, someone has to be there in order to keep keep us on schedule. Again, like him, I'm hounding people now, like, hey, you said X and now we're at Y, what's going on? So I think at some point you have to become the nag, even though you never want to be, but sometimes I feel like people need it as well. They're like, oh yeah, okay, because again, people have a lot of things going on. They have, other projects, but you want always to keep, you want them, excuse me, to always keep your project at least top 3 on what they're, on their schedule, what's going on on their week.
Right. Well, Tammy, on average, how long would you say a remodeling project should take?
Wow.
Or maybe that's not a fair question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
I think on average, again, I think it depends on how you can get everyone to commit to coming in and staying on schedule with what needs to be done. Because again, kind of same way Andy said, there's certain things that have to happen first before other things can happen. So, the plumbing has to get done before the machines can go in, and electro has to get done before the machines go. A lot of things have to happen in order to get to the end point. You don't want to put your floors in and then bring in your machines, because now you have a room, so just you're trying to manage everything, but still keep. So that's a hard question, only because you really need everybody to be on schedule, on task, on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes it's just hard, life happens, things come up, and it kind of pushes one person's schedule off, and then you're trying to work around that person. So if the electrician can't come in, you're getting the plumber in. If the plumber can't come in, the contractors come in. You're just trying to make sure that at least something is happening so that you're getting to your end goal.
Right.
So
No,
again, we estimated 3 months, but we're going on our 4th month. So that will tell you, you can estimate and you can hope, but sometimes it just doesn't work out that way.
No, you're right. It was a completely unfair question, and I apologize for asking it, but I'm going to ask it to Andy too. And again, I know that there's different types of projects. There's a complete retool, there's makeovers, but I guess just on average, how long, should laundry owners expect to spend on keeping their stores up to speed?
Well, that's a good question. So let's break it down. You want to do floors? You want to do ceiling tiles? You want to do painting? Are you upgrading any of the electrical? If you're upgrading any of the utilities, you're probably going to need a permit. And if you're going to need a permit, then you're on the city's time, because they're going to send in investigators to write off and sign off on the work that your contractor did. So that throws that completely out. You might as well add 30 to 60 days if you got that. So if you're going to redo a floor, a guy can probably come in and do a 2,500 square foot floor, and probably all in maybe 4 or 5 days. And so you take each trade and you start to add the hours that they normally do. And so, if I'm going to replace 50% of the equipment, so let's say 45 machines total, washers and or dryers, and I'm going to rework some of the bulkheads so that they look a little nicer. I'm going to replace the floor. I'm going to replace some dirty ceiling tiles, maybe 20 of them, and we're going to throw paint up. I'm probably looking at 40 to 45 days.
Okay.
It's going to take the distributor probably 3 weeks to get me my equipment. So I have 3 weeks to get a lot of the stuff out of the way before the installer comes in, and then I put my floor in, and then we can wash and we can polish and wax it, and then we can start. Tammy, what do you think?
It's probably about right. Yeah. Again, you're at the mercy of people who, you're trying to get things in, then there's a backlog, and the distributor can't get the machines to you, or you can't, it's just always, I feel like now it's always something. At store number 2, again, it's a blessing, and it's the learning curve again. Yeah, the blessing and the curse, but it's the learning curve, because it's our first build. Again, the other one we bought was already a established laundromat, and you just kind of go from there. You start making changes as needed. This one, you're starting from scratch. You're like, I want everything to look like this and like that. You have this vision, and so now you're trying to work to the vision. So you need other people to be on the, working as fast as you.
Right.
Again, you're still trying to work. I'm always trying to work nights and mornings, trying to get things done, just so that, people, they have their 9 to 5s or whatever else they're doing, they can get that done, and then just kind of come earn the extra in the evening.
Right. Well, you're coming at it, Tammy, from two different perspectives. That first store was, as you said, it was an existing store, so you have to work around what's there.
Yes.
And now you're building from the ground up, and this is your dream store. You can do it any way you want it. In an ideal world, with an ideal laundromat, again, for both of you, what are the keys to a design and layout? What are the best recommendations for design and layout? Again, in a perfect world, for designing that store, that layout, what would you like if you had that perfect store?
I like things to be aesthetically pleasing to me for some reason. Like I like to come in and it looks, sometimes you go into stores and it might be already established stores or people, whatever they're doing, and they have like different machines and different dryers, like, you know, Maytag and Wascomat and
Yeah.
I don't know why that drives me crazy. I like aesthetically for everything to look the same. I like cleanliness. You know, I want things to be very, you know, when you come in, you're like, oh, okay. It's a relaxing feeling, you know, when you see people and they're doing laundry, that's their time to kind of unwind. It's the end of the day, it's their Saturday morning, whatever's happening, that's their, you know, hour or two that they're in there. You don't want them to be like, oh, you know, you want them to come in, you know, it's very mellow. It's just, you know, that burnt orange that threw me off too. I didn't know what to do with that. But that color scheme you had going there, I was curious where you're going, but yes. I like things to be aesthetically pleasing to my site.
Andy, how about you? What's just really quickly, what's a perfect design element for you, or a perfect layout feature that you would love to do if you could?
Well, this is probably going to shock a lot of people, but I probably would go with only about 3 or 4 different size machines. Number one. Number two, I would have double the number of laundry carts that everybody has in their laundries, because I'm a stickler for that. And the reason is I think that if you relate a laundry cart to a shopping cart at a grocery store, and you are going to go grocery shopping on Saturday for a big picnic at your house, and you show up at that grocery store and there's not a laundry cart, I promise you, you will not visit that grocery store again. And so what people fail to understand is that people really need laundry carts. Yep, they go missing. Yep. And in the old days, that used to be like a bad check, because we did take checks when we were doing business in the 50s and 60s and the 70s, where you actually paid with a check and not a debit card. And that was just a cost of doing business. And so for me, when I look at a store, and I'm with you, Tammy, you have to provide a clean, safe, well-lit place. It's a female-driven business, and that's what they're looking for. At the same time, I don't want to convolute it with a million different sizes of machines. I want to keep it simple. I don't want mixed mass machines like you. I want to go with one, doesn't matter. And I want to make darn sure that when my clients show up, that there's a laundry cart for them. And I'll tell you how you know you have enough laundry carts. Well, first of all, rule of thumb is 7 to 10 per 1,000 square feet. You have a 3,000 square foot store, you're going to have 20 laundry carts. But my attitude is, if you go in there on a busy day, Saturday, Sunday, in the evenings, and there are no laundry carts, you need 1 or 2. So when you walk into your laundry cart and I'm telling you, every machine is working, it is busy as all, and there's 1 or 2 laundry carts left over, you have enough. And that's been my philosophy. And I think that it hurts you if you don't have enough laundry carts.
Absolutely. Great point. The biggest mistake, do either of you care to share your biggest mistake in renovating and remodeling a laundromat? Andy?
I think the biggest mistake that I've made is we covered it, timing. It taught me a big lesson on when I actually thought that I could get this laundromat open, and I actually got it opened. And there were things that were out of my control that I didn't consider, which was parts and the timing of the contractor. I think that if you can get a clause in there that says that they have to be finished by this, or they're paying you $100 a day fee or something to put a little pressure on them. The biggest thing that I had was poor timing on my part, that I thought, without talking with the contractor, that it would take only X days and it took Y. And I take full responsibility for that. And that probably cost me a fair amount of money. So, you know, if you're at 700 a day, you know, you've got 5 days, that's 3,500.
Yeah.
Starts to add up.
Yeah.
Right. Very good. Tammy, how about you? Did you make any mistakes during your first renovation, or as we go into second one?
The first one, no, because again, we took our time. The first month or so, we just kind of started talking to the customer, seeing what was needed. Again, first thing, paint job. You know, you got to get that. Want to make sure it's nice and bright. Got new LEDs in there, and then so there weren't really a lot of mistakes there because again, we were able to kind of plan it out. We searched for machines. We tried to find the best deal. Because it wasn't like the machines were not working, we just wanted bigger machines. We just kept telling people, well, don't worry, they're coming. I know you're waiting, but they're coming. With the second one, I think it's more to what Andy said, the timing issue and just not being able to, I don't want to say harass people, but really harass them to kind of stay on schedule and get things done when they say they were going to get it done. Because every day counts. Like if you're not closer to your goal by day 15, you're like, oh, okay, now we're at the end of the month. That's just how your mind thinks. Like we're at the middle of the month. We're not even, so you're really just trying to push people to get things done for you faster. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Very
I
good.
give you guys an anecdotal thing that I just want to tell you that, you talk about, did I make a mistake? Well, no, but I thought that when I replaced the fluorescent lights with LED lights, and I don't have an example that I can go and look at. So I'm looking at a book and I'm looking at the flood capacity of the lights and how they hit the ground and how they flood out 5 feet this way, 15 feet this way. And I'm looking at all these schematics, and do I want it to be like a gymnasium, or do I want it to be like a place where a doctor could do surgery? I mean, how much lumens do you want? I had no idea, not a clue. So we ended up purchasing, I don't know, we had 2 banks of 80 feet long. So we had 20 fixtures that we were replacing. And I want this lumens. Well, when they installed those lights, you actually had to wear sunglasses in my laundromat at night because it was so bright. And so it was one of those funny things that I said, well, okay, well, we'll just keep it the way it is, and it'll just be one of those bright laundromats that people get used to. But man, it was bright. It is bright. And so it was one of those funny things you go, okay, that was a little bit too bright, but that's the way it is.
Right. Great story. I love that. Really quick here, we've got 2 great questions from people. I know we're running out of time, but one person asks, do either of you do any marketing in support of your remodels?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I usually have what I call a customer appreciation day, and I probably have that quarterly. A lot of people say, well, that's too much. Well, but if you really look at it, it's going to cost you about $1,000 to get the flyers done. And it's going to cost you another $500 or $600 to give away backpacks, a bicycle here and there, do a raffle, give something back to them. And they really appreciate you taking care of them, and you're thinking of them. And so, yeah, I usually do it after a remodel, but I also do it during the year, at least twice during the year, to renters recycle every 6 months. And you're going to get new people to come in. So it's just another way to know who your clients are.
Right. Tammy, how about you? Have you done any marketing in support of the remodeling that you've done?
Well, again, for the first store, yes. We went old school and did a flyer campaign. So we were, hit the pavement. Because we are kind of a smaller community-based laundromat, we definitely do school supply giveaways. We do a turkey giveaway. We do toy giveaways. We have once every, I want to say twice a year. So once in the winter and once in the summer, we'll do, like, people leave clothes, so we'll wash them, whatever's happening, and we'll do a giveaway. So just, giving back those clothes to the community who needs stuff, who needs jackets, we'll do jacket giveaways. In summer times, we do shoes, small things like that. So that have been what we have done within the past two years. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. That's a lot of stuff. That's great. Andy, I do have someone asking for a clarification on a number you had given earlier. I think you had said $200 a square foot?
For a new store, yeah, 225.
Okay. So they're saying, so then that would make it a $400,000 remodel.
It could be if you're going, no, let me rephrase that. That's for a new store. An existing store would probably be closer to 100 because you're not replacing the gas, water, and electric.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. I think that gave them the clarification.
I've clarified that.
Okay. Hey, you know what? That was everything I had. Andy, Tammy, thank you for being here. Is there anything that I didn't ask that either of you would like to get out there just very briefly for our audience regarding this whole topic? Or have we covered it?
For me, it's just been really a fun trip. I'm really new to the industry, so really just learning the business, learning kind of the pluses and the minuses. I think, again, there's so many ways to save money on a remodel, but I think there's times where you're like, I don't have time to save money. We're just gonna have to pay the surplus and get it done. And that's kind of sometimes how things happen, and you have to just, do it that way. So those are the things that I will say that I've learned, and that as we're going into our new store, that we're really just like, we don't have time to look. Let's just buy it off the, go to the distributor, pay the premium, pay the premium, and let's go. So those are things that are.
Absolutely. Thank you. Andy, any last parting shots?
Yes. Remodel June, July, August, and September, and enjoy the fruits of your labor in every other month. Don't do a remodel in the middle of the winter because that's the busiest time of your year.
Mm-hmm.
Try to do everything in the summer months. I don't care if it's painting, I don't care if it's a new floor, but that's when you should be doing that and not during the other months, because those are very powerful months to generate revenue.
Perfect. I think that's a perfect place to leave it right there. Thank you to both of you for this. Just a couple quick announcements. CLA has a new Facebook group. It's called Laundromat Professionals Network, and you can get more great information like you've had here at this webinar by a lot of great sharing, a lot of great ideas from your peers. So feel free to jump onto that group and engage on Facebook with other laundry owners. We've got a couple more virtual events coming up before the end of the year. On November 9th, we've got a webinar on factors to consider before buying an existing laundromat. On December 7th, simple customer promotions that really work. I just finished that article, and there's more than 5. There's a lot of great stuff, so be sure to check that out. And then on December 12th, the Women's Laundry Network will have a virtual holiday happy hour. And then the CLA Connect Live program has 2 more events before the end of the year. On October 26th in Rosemont, Illinois, and November 30th in Atlanta. So if you're a laundry owner in either of those areas, feel free to come out, have a great meal, and share stories and network with other operators in your market. Thank you. Again, thank you to Andy. Thank you to Tammy. I really appreciate you sharing your time, your insight. Special thanks to Pablo and Sense for being here and for sponsoring this great program. And thank you to everybody for your time and your participation. Hope you learned something. Hope you have a great rest of your week. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.